What's up, everyone? I'm Doug Kyed. Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm here with Michael Hurley. Michael, how are you doing on this Thursday evening?
Honestly or not honestly?
Yeah, I'd like some honesty.
Just every time this time of year, I always forget that you can't drive anywhere, and it takes an hour and 45 minutes to drive 15 minutes, and I need like a cold ice bath and a blank wall to stare at. So
That's
that's
fair.
how I'm doing. But I
Um,
mean, other than that, great. Happy for this holiday season.
I always get thrown off at this time of year by the introduction of Saturday games. I was like, oh, there's a
Mm.
Saturday 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock game this week. And then next week on Christmas Eve, it's just basically like all Saturday games. Somehow this
Yes.
throws me off every single year. I'm not expecting it. And like just being like, oh, I am either going to watch a bunch of football on Saturday and ignore my family
Mhm.
or like
Mhm.
just miss three football games. It's odd. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't love it. I'm probably the only one who doesn't love it, but I don't love it.
it's really the obligation things that are thrown off where like your wife and family and friends are like, you're watching football now. It seems like tonight is Saturday, but the Saturday night game is going to be great. So I'll be watching it and everyone else can deal with it. So it's
Yeah,
not really my problem.
I'll definitely be watching, the Saturday night game, but yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's talk about the Patriots. They are playing the Raiders on Sunday at 4 o'clock. They've been in Arizona all week. We are in sunny Massachusetts instead, but it seems like the weather in Arizona isn't actually all that warm. Whenever I see my friends on Twitter who are in Arizona, they're wearing like beanies and jackets and look uncomfortable.
No, they're wearing University of Arizona sweatshirts because they didn't pack any. So huge business boom for the bookstore there in Tucson.
Very, very true. Let's talk about the injury report first because that is pertinent news just dropped. And Jakobi Meyers, odd situation with him this week, where when Patriots reporters are at practice, they see Jakobi Meyers not in uniform, not participating, heading into, the weight room, whatever, the training room, whatever it is. But then the Patriots keep listing him as limited with a concussion. So Jakobi Meyers limited with a concussion. Guys who haven't been out there: Jack Jones with a knee, DeVante Parker with a concussion, running back Ramondre Stevenson with an ankle, offensive lineman Isaiah Wynn with a foot. Other guys who are limited: Christian Barmore, Damien Harris, Yadni Kajust, Jalen Mills, and Joe Cardona was a full participant today with an ankle injury. But I mean, I'd say it's not a great sign that Jakobi Meyers isn't even in uniform when people see him at practice. But if you're just taking this at face value, limited with a concussion means that he's progressing through concussion protocol.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. With the weirdness of it is there was a time where maybe I knew every step of the concussion protocol.
Whew. Yeah.
Those days it got overly complicated and time went on. But the point is, there's probably certain check marks that he has to hit. There are certain, standards that he has to pass for X number of days. I remember in the past, it was like, you have to do this 3 days in a row without this, things like that. So
Right.
I'm sure he's progressing. And I think that actually might be a positive sign that he is there, that he is working out, that he is not, shuttered and hidden away from the team. And he was a big loss last week. I think, I don't know if you heard, they threw a lot of short passes, not a lot of downfield stuff. He could have helped with some of that. He is such an important part of the offense that I think if he can get back on the practice field, just even in a walkthrough capacity for the end of the week, then that should be huge. But the other one that stood out there when you mentioned it was Jack Jones, not because he's a great player in year one, he's a good player, but because of all of the potential pass catchers that could be on the field for Las Vegas this weekend. Every defensive back is going to be needed. And if he can't go, he said after the game Monday night that it wasn't that bad, but if he can't go, then that's a big disadvantage there.
Yeah. And not that bad with a knee injury can mean basically a million different things, but not that bad. Like, could just mean like, I didn't tear my ACL. I'm not out for the season. Or it could mean I'll be good to go this week. But two straight practices with him not participating, definitely not a good sign. I don't think it would be possible for DeVante Parker to return at this point from his concussion because I think that he'd have to be, he would have already had to have been limited and then he would have had to be
Yeah.
a full go. So maybe that's why they're listing Jakobi Meyers that way, is limited. Like maybe they're doing what they can with him so that if he's a full participant on Friday, then he can play. But yeah, I was looking into it. Patriots, as we mentioned on last week's show, or this week's show, earlier this week's show, threw 12 screen passes. That is the most that any team has thrown in a game this season. The Cardinals have also done it a couple of times, and the Chargers did it once. And that was like the biggest surprise to me. I thought I was going to have to go back to like 2008 to figure out when the last time a team threw 12 screen passes in one game. But it's not the greatest sign that the other teams that have done that are Joe Lombardi and the Chargers, who everyone criticizes with the way that they handle Justin Herbert, and Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals, who just lost to the Patriots.
I mean, the Cardinals got some issues there, but I went through because we obviously watched, and we all obviously watching it was a tough watch. So I said, let's look at all of the throws where he did actually throw downfield. I did not rewatch all of the short throws, and the commonality, the reason they can't do it much is that the offensive line can't block. There were, I want to get the exact number. So I think he took 7 or 8 shots downfield, plus a sack, plus the interception, whatever it may be. But when he had a clean pocket, he could make plays. And he didn't have a clean pocket for 4 or 5 seconds. The Hunter Henry plays for 30 was 3 seconds. He got the snap. He looked the single safety off to the left. He knew that Henry just had to clear the linebacker. He just had to get to that second level and he'd be open because there was one safety back there. There was 2 verticals being run. Mac takes the snap, looks left, pops right, throws a perfect pass. It's not like he needs 10 minutes, but he needs that. And there were plays where he didn't even have that. So I look ahead to this week where we have Max Crosby, an elite pass rusher. Chandler Jones, who hadn't done much and then had 4 sacks a couple weeks ago, and certainly will be inspired to play his old team. So I don't know if you're hoping that this week looks more like Minnesota and the ball's flying downfield. I would temper those expectations and add in Matthew Patricia's explanation on Tuesday morning saying like, well, there's home road and all that. So if they're on the road and that's a factor, I think everything is pointing to another safe, short, quick passes for the line, for the opponent, and for the location.
And that's kind of unfortunate because, like the Raiders do have the idea this offseason was for them to add 2 premier pass rushers or, to have 2 premier pass rushers, add Chandler Jones to what they already have in Max Crosby. But like if those opportunities were there, if Mac Jones did have time to throw downfield, the Raiders secondary, the rest of their defense is not very good. So like it would be an ideal time to try to get some deep shots downfield to, we'll see who's even out there for the Patriots, whether that's, Tyquan Thornton, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. We'll see if Jakobi Meyers can play, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. I mean, there's not a lot of guys on that Raiders defense who can actually cover all of them. The issue is just that the Patriots offensive line, for some reason, is so bad this season that, like you said, you don't have time to get those plays. And I also think that, Jakobi Meyers could be missed in this game if he's not playing because you could take deeper shots with him downfield, but he's also a guy who can kind of get open in a phone booth. He's not a Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, Wes Welker type, but he is a guy who can create separation off the line of scrimmage. He's got quick feet. He can get open a lot better than some of these other guys who need a little bit more space. So ideally you'd like to have Jakobi Meyers in there. I will say it was one of the downfield throws to Hunter Henry. I think it was the one where he just kind of like stopped and Mac Jones hit him. Which one was that?
That was before halftime up the left seam. Yeah. It was a tight window throw.
Yes.
He had just cleared the second level and Budda Baker was coming over and Mac got it there. It wasn't like a bullet. It had a little wobble to it, but he got it there just in time. And that was how they got 3 points before halftime.
And that was a play where watching that back, I was like, they could really use a Julian Edelman. And it was like kind of like a Julian. I know that Hunter Henry's a tight end. I know that he's not the same body type, whatever it is, but like, I feel like that was kind of a Julian Edelman type play where like find the open space, get open, stop, get the ball, see if you can get some yards after catch. And I don't know, it is kind of weird that the Patriots haven't really tried to add that type of player in their offense with Mac Jones the way that they did with Tom Brady. But it's definitely unfortunate that the offensive line is so bad. I know we talk about the offensive line ad nauseum in here. Beyond the fact that Connor McDermott was out there, like, do you have any other theories about why this offensive line really is as bad as they are from rewatching everything?
Well, McDermott was better than Isaiah Wynn, I was thinking, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Pretty bad, yeah.
But again, we're not a Matt Patricia bashing podcast, and we're not an offensive line podcast either. But that being said, even that play you just mentioned, the Hunter Henry pass before halftime, Cole Strange was on roller skates, getting pushed all the way back in the pocket. But the difference was, and if you rewatch it, I made so many nice GIFs. I wish more people read my story. Nobody did, but that's okay.
I did. I was one of the
Doug.
10 clicks.
It was an exclusive club. A lot of nice gifts in there. But he was on roller skates. The difference was, I don't remember if it was hurry up or not, but the Cardinals weren't set, so they basically had a 2-man pass rush. Now, one of them got a pressure, which isn't great. But as to a theory, I mean, Trent Brown, when he re-signed here and had his press conference or like his Instagram and was like, oh, man, I love playing for Coach Scarnecchia. And it was kind of like, do you want to tell him? Like, who wants to tell him that Dante's gone? So, I mean, Dante got the best year of his career out of him in 2018.
Yeah.
So some players, it's not like a knock on him. Some players need great coaching, and he might be one of them. I think Cole Strange, I'm not going to sit here and be like, the rookie out of Tennessee Chattanooga needs to be better. I think he needs coaching. And the offensive line coach is not wholly focused on the offensive line, and it hurts. I don't think there's any other way to put it. Like, Andrews and Onwenu are fine. Isaiah Wynn seems like he needs coaching. So it's not even like revolutionary or outside of the norm to say like, oh, this guy or that guy like isn't up for it or anything. Like, players need coaching, and they're not getting what they need from the offensive line coach. And that's, I don't know if that's during the week. They don't let me at practice, but it's definitely not on the sideline during the game when it's funny watching all of those pass rushers. It's like, there's like JJ Watt, Cameron Thomas, the other guy whose name I always forget.
Zach Allen.
Yes. They had a little Abbott and Costello routine on Hard
really
Knocks,
did.
if you saw it, but it was just like this wave of twists and stunts, and they kept getting home. So without adjustments to that, it felt like the Cardinals probably said, well, let's just keep doing that. And there's no way to stop it.
I'm going to spin this into a positive real quick.
Do it.
And I know this is difficult to do when talking about the offensive line. Michael Onwenu was such a fantastic pick that like everything else around him, the fact that he's had to have Isaiah Wynn, Connor McDermott, Yadni Kajust, a bunch of guys who
James Ferentz too.
James Ferentz,
like the other side.
Yep, James Ferentz, David Andrews, all these guys next to him, other than David Andrews, who have struggled. And Michael Onwenu is just like this absolute rock at right guard who doesn't really seem to get flustered by anything, does a great job in pass protection, gets a push in run blocking. And it's really just kind of, I feel like, a testament to him. Unless Matt Patricia is just spending every waking hour of his time coaching Michael Onwenu.
Shut up, Yodney. I'm working with Mike.
Then it's really honestly impressive how good Michael Onwenu has been since he came into the NFL, and especially this season. Now, real quick, I'm going to spin this.
I want to get it on record. Your Doug Kyed is saying Mike Onwenu is the Patriots' greatest 6th round pick out of Michigan ever, right?
At least since 2001. I don't know what happened before then. Can't speak to 2000 or before. No idea what happened in those drafts. Certainly the best one of the last 21 years.
Fair.
So my negative here, why in the goddamn hell wasn't Michael Onwenu starting last year? Like, I know the offensive line was good. I know the Patriots offense in general was good, but like, I know that Ted Karras was good. I know whatever, but like, what the hell were they doing by not putting Michael Onwenu on the field?
That's true. And that wasn't Matt Patricia's decision. So not a Matt Patricia. You're right. He was a senior football advisor. I mean, there's a lot of questions. It feels like tackle is a more difficult position to fill, and he's capable of playing there, but has stayed at guard. Now, I don't know that you just fix one hole and make another by doing that, but yeah, I mean, he has been good. I remember his rookie year in 2020. It was week 2. When did they go to Seattle and lose? Week 2. Yeah. There was like a 4th and 1, and not the one that they lost the game on at the end, but it was like there was maybe someone else. There was like 2 or 3 rookies as part of it, maybe like one of those tight ends that they drafted that's not on the team anymore. And it was like they ran it and they executed, and it was like, damn, these guys can play, and he's the one. So yeah, there's still the talent there in the middle, but it's just not good. I mean, there was one play like you probably saw Isaiah Simmons, like there's a wide 9 technique, and then there's like a wide, I'm not a defensive, he's like a wide 40. He's like outside the numbers because Hunter Henry was offset like 3 yards, and Simmons was playing 3 yards outside of him. So McDermott didn't see, it's like, I'm not going to get on him for that. I don't know if he knew he was there. Right. And, Henry was basically a hot route and could have, I don't know. When the guy ran by him, maybe he should have turned around. But
the other thing
that one looked bad for McDermott, like on Twitter and stuff. But it's like,
right.
I don't know about that.
Well, Tyquan Thornton was also in the slot on that play, right, where he was at least split pretty closely to the line of to the ball.
I think he was with Henry.
Like maybe if that's Jakobi Meyers, maybe if that's DeVante Parker, like you can chip, but like, sorry,
you're recovering. I want to talk about
my voice is mostly back.
Yeah.
Still as of yesterday, I couldn't raise my voice. I think I can raise my voice at this point. I just have a cough still. But yeah, like I don't think that you necessarily want Tyquan Thornton, all like 155 pounds of him, shipping a defensive end or a linebacker or a safety or whatever you want to call Isaiah Simmons, because like it might just like break him in half.
Quick aside, you mentioned like Edelman and maybe you said Welker. I was at the Bruins game the other night and ended up sitting around a bunch of Louisville players who are here for the Fenway Bowl, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, excuse me. And their interim head coach is Dion Branch. And I was like talking to this like DN. I'm like, how old are you? He's like 20. I'm like, you don't even know how great Dion Branch was. Like, I gotta like, can we like sit down after this and I'll give you my DVD? He probably wouldn't know what a DVD is, but it was kind of a funny. I mean, there's always been that guy. I mean, but that was a Brady. That was a Brady ESP type thing that he had with those guys that Max seems to have a little bit with Jakobi.
Yeah. And he's developing a rapport, I think, with Hunter Henry. The issue with Hunter Henry is that like you kind of have to play Hunter Henry just based on him being one of the best skill position players on the team. But like he really can't do much as a blocker still at this point.
Well, I mean, why is he in a one-on-one against
right
Cameron Thomas? Like that was I don't know what the plan was. And that was a deep shot. That was one of the deep shots where he wasn't protected. And that actually goes in. We've done a lot of, what to expect this week in the injuries. If we think Damien Harris doesn't seem ready, I mean, it's hard to tell.
It is.
If we think Ramondre Stevenson is out, that does put, and I don't know that they do this in other NFL cities, but as like people that cover the Patriots, we've been like beaten over the head with it that we're like, well, what about the running back in pass pro? Like how's the running back? If he can't pass pro, he can't play. And like, I didn't see egregious misplays by Harris or Kevin Harris or Pierre Strong last week. There was that, the interception play where Buda Baker, I call him Buda Baker because I'm from Massachusetts, where Buda Baker came off the edge and Harris picked him up pretty well. He pushed him upfield. It's the problem is Max stepped up because of that. And Thomas was able to get around Henry, but I didn't see issues where they were like overmatched or not responsible. So I guess that was good in that instance. If a team has time to plan to attack rookie running backs, especially say like Josh McDaniels, who coached all those running backs in pass pro here and knows how it might be. He doesn't know these specific players, but I feel like that's another area where when there's a sixth blocker, is something going to break down there? And does it kill another drive or does it kill another play? That's why I'm like chip and screen. That's what I'm expecting. This feels like a good game to like throw a wrinkle in there, to have like Jonnu Smith play running back, or like Jonnu Smith.
Who's
is that a Raiders player?
He's a guy who signed a pretty big contract only a year ago
in the NFL. Or like
they
USFL.
Restructured his contract to ensure that he would be around for a year longer than he needed to be.
So he's doing really well.
So he was supposed to. They kind of redid the offense, tried to make things a little bit easier for him, tried to simplify things a little bit.
What is that? I mean,
I'm still waiting. Listen, it's still early in the season. Okay,
there's second season. Plenty of time. It's still early in December. No, it's not. It's still early in the holiday season of his second season.
Early in the winter, okay? There's still time for Jonnu Smith to have his breakout.
He had the screen pass early. I think it was the first drive. And Mac was a little pressured and kind of threw it off target, but it was a 5-foot pass, and Smith couldn't make a one-hand catch and turn around. He dropped it. And it's like, I don't get it, because I'm not saying he was an all-pro in Tennessee, but Bill Belichick called him the best yards after catch player in the league when he wasn't on the team. And since he's been on the team, they've utilized that just about never. There was like the preseason last year where it's like, okay, I get it. Get the ball in his hands on a 3-yard crosser. He'll turn it into 15 yards. The chains are moving. Like, super useful play, super useful player. And a part of it has been him, but I still feel like he is not in any plans ever with that offense.
I think part of it, and I don't know. I would need to look into this a little bit more. But I feel like part of it is that, like, defenses don't need to respect Jonnu Smith past like 9 yards downfield at all. And like, they know that all he can really do is catch short passes, and that the idea then would be for him to spring for long gains. And it just hasn't worked. I mean, this year on short passes, he's averaging 7.4 yards per reception. Behind the line of scrimmage, he's averaging 4.9 yards per reception. Intermediate passes, he's averaging 39.5, but he's only caught 2 of them this season. So I think that teams know exactly how the Patriots want to use Jonnu Smith. It doesn't come as much of a surprise, and you just kind of swarm towards him when he's running routes. So it is unfortunate. I had high hopes for Jonnu Smith. I thought that he was a guy who, didn't really show his full range of, skill when he was in Tennessee, and that the Patriots might unlock that. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to criticize the Patriots, obviously, but the amount of money they poured into tight ends and the amount of production they've gotten out of them it's pretty pitiful at this point.
He has 200 yards.
Yes.
Yes,
he does.
That's like, that used to be like a really good game for Rob Gronkowski. It was like, wow, 200. I mean, he never got to 200, but you get my point. It is essentially one really good game, and that's what he's had through 12 games. No touchdowns. One touchdown last year. 300 yards
last year.
It's crazy because like you said, like, I had high hopes, and he doesn't look like he can't run routes or be athletic or do things, but he had that one bad Saints game where he had like 4 drops, one which led to an interception, and it was like, never again was he featured in a game plan. And I don't know. It seems like an untapped resource for the Patriots offense.
I also thought that he might be a guy that like fell out of favor with Josh McDaniels, and that this new offense with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge and everything would, begun to kind of unlock the skill set of Jonnu Smith, unlock the skill set of Nelson Aguilar. I think that was the intention. Like I said, heading into the season, that's what I had heard of, like, okay, yeah, this new offense, simplified things. It'll be easier for Jonnu Smith and Nelson Aguilar. And for both of them, it just really hasn't worked. I mean, Jonnu Smith is 7th on the team in receiving yards. Like, and this isn't an offense that's like stacked with offensive playmakers in the passing game.
Yeah, and 7th in targets, like behind, DeVante Parker, who's been sort of in and out in terms of usage and activity. Who else is he? He's also behind. He's behind rookie Tyquan Thornton. Oh no, sorry, he's 2 more than Tyquan Thornton, who missed 3 games. So that speaks volumes to that. Can we look at the Raiders injuries? Because the last time we saw the Raiders, Josh Jacobs left the game, came back in the game, and was trying to play without his pinky, which looked really painful and really dangerous. But just in case anyone doesn't know, Jacobs, I want to get the numbers right on where he's at in the league. He leads the league in rushing by, I want to say, 200 yards, and he does it. So he has 203 yards more than Derrick Henry on 6 fewer carries. So I think that's like, we all from afar like know Derrick Henry and what he's all doing. So Josh Jacobs has 203 more yards on 6 fewer carries this season. So we looked at the Patriots injuries. I look at that pinky like as the number 1 injury, because he is such a big part of that offense that if he can't hold the ball, like I don't think that's a position you can play with a broken pinky, if that's what it is.
You can't catch the ball really with a broken pinky. I think that you can maybe carry the ball in the other hand, but even that can create some issues, obviously, as a running back. He's also dealing with a quad injury, which isn't as major. He's been able to play through that. But yeah, I mean, the pinky, I would agree. That's a big injury for them. And they don't, I think that part of the reason why he's got so many yards this season is that like their backups are what, like Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden, Zamir White, who's barely played this season. They don't really, if he doesn't play, like it's a massive drop off below him at running back.
Yeah, he has 269 carries. Okay. Second
Yes.
on the team is Derek Carr with 21 rushing attempts, followed by Zamir White with 15, Brandon Bolden with 8. And then you have receiver Mac Hollins with 4 and Amir Abdullah with 4. So literally 269 and then subtract the 21. The next is 15. So, I mean, maybe they have a situation like the Jets where they lose their number one guy and the next guy's pretty good too, but it doesn't seem like they're built for that. But on the other side, with the positive injuries with the Raiders, which we mentioned earlier, where you might have Hunter Renfrow back and you might have Darren Waller back, I'm still like, overall, I'm like, all right, well, they'll still find a way to lose. I've seen enough out of this Raiders team to ever create a scenario where they take the field against another team and win. I've seen them blow it and just completely collapse so many times, most recently against a quarterback who had signed 48 hours prior to the game. I just can't take them seriously. And who knows, like, it's crazy. The Patriots aren't that good. They could lose, but I can't, like, the Raiders are losers, and that's how I see it. Don't tweet at me, Raiders Nation.
They might. Raiders, I will say that if there's one team that might struggle to come back against the Raiders, it might be the Patriots, who throw 4 yards downfield and 12 screen passes. And that, as we said before, that's probably likely what's going to be happening again for the Patriots this week. But they could also collapse on offense, and the Patriots defense has been pretty good. They've made a decent amount of plays this season. So I do feel like if the Raiders are able to get up, 2 scores, 3 scores, whatever it is, the Patriots defense is probably going to have to make at least one massive play in this game to come back.
Yeah. And the other thing is they've had trouble covering elite wide receivers lately with, Hopkins didn't kill them. Obviously, he actually gave them the game. But prior to that, Stephon Diggs, and prior to that, they had the issues with, help me out here. We talked about it quite a bit.
Justin Jefferson?
Yes, I can't remember 3 weeks ago at any point in my life. But on the flip side, the Raiders do sometimes forget that they have Devontae Adams, which could really work in the Patriots' favor. I think I caught your cough.
Do you know what's amazing? You can't remember who the Patriots played 2 weeks ago, but you referenced like the 2010 playoffs in a text with me today. And like you and Zach Cox, who I covered the Patriots with for a number of years at Nesson, have like great recall of Patriots games from like 5, 10, 15 years ago.
20.
And I could not tell you, like, other than the 2009 game against the Ravens, the 2010 game that you were referencing was against the Jets, right?
Yeah, Brady hadn't thrown a pick in something like 360 attempts, and then threw a pick on a screen pass to BenJarvus Green-Ellis, was picked off by David Harris, who returned it like 40 yards. Patriot great, David Harris. And Brady was not the same after that. He was timid. He was afraid. The Sanchez had a huge 4th down pass. It was a short crosser to Santonio Holmes, who ran for like 50 yards. And then the Patriots were down, I want to say, 2 scores. And they went on like a 9-minute drive and didn't score. And it was called the drive to nowhere. So anything that happened during my formative years, which I go up to a certain point, maybe in my 20s, since then it's been rough. And there was a game recently I saw referenced that I just flat out didn't remember happening. Like, usually I remember parts of it. Sometimes I remember like where I was, what I was doing, who I was with. But then there was this game, I was like, I had never heard of that game. So I don't know what happened that week. I might have suffered like a concussion because I have zero recollection of it.
I have barely any recall of a game after it happens, like maybe like 6 weeks later. They all just kind of run together. I remember like certain moments, certain big games I remember. But yeah, there's like a hole in my brain to remember aspects of certain games, I would say.
You know what's funny? I'm really riding that one like off the rails a little, but during COVID, when there was no sports, and as a sports writer, I wanted to be relevant to the world. So I started a series called like Forgotten Patriots Playoff Games, which is a funny concept because like imagine having so many playoff games that there are some that people are like, oh, that game happened. I don't even remember that one. But like, I remember there was Jacksonville game, 2005, Willie McGinnis, I want to say, set the sack record. He had like 5 sacks or something.
Wow.
There was because obviously you remember like the Snow Bowl, you remember like
Right.
01 Pittsburgh, Bledsoe coming in, but there was all these games where it was like,
oh yeah,
that game did happen. Oh yeah, they did beat the Jets in 06 before they beat
especially
the Chargers,
games that like didn't, like 2005, 2006 playoffs, like the ones where they didn't win a Super Bowl. I feel like those are the ones that really get forgotten because like everyone sees like the NFL film specials on seasons when they won the Super Bowl and like you go through those games. But yeah, the lost seasons, I guess, the Logan Mankins era, there's probably a lot of forgotten playoff games in there between 2005 and 2013.
Even years like, remember the Tebow playoff game? That was great. Oh, I missed those days.
Kind of. I mean, I remember it happening, but I don't remember specifics.
Let's
talk about someone who was part of a lot of those teams. How about that segue? Josh McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that if Josh McDaniels wins this game, that he will have a similar like fists in the air, running around the field like he did when he beat the Patriots in Denver back in 2009?
I'm going to say no, because he's not 30, whatever he was at that point, 33. And really, weren't the Broncos, I want to say they were 5-0 at that point, and everyone loved them, and it was a great hire, and everything was jolly. If they win this week, first of all, it's going to be 60% Patriots fans in the building, roughly.
True.
Like
Fair.
that was the one when the schedule came out, people were booking flights immediately in April. Or May,
Denver and Las Vegas? Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
Like, yeah, I mean, like you'd want to leave New England and Denver and go to Las Vegas.
Oh, I'm talking about Patriots fans. This, like when the schedule came out,
right?
Everyone from New England was like,
yes.
Yeah. I'm missing the Denver part. I'm sorry. I don't.
Oh, did I say, December in Las Vegas?
Oh,
I meant.
I get it. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, so I don't anticipate that. And plus, I mean, if they win, it's just sort of like, that's great. Way to go.
Right. And I can't, I mean, there's not a lot of, I can't imagine there's a lot of animosity between Josh McDaniels and the Patriots. Like Bill Belichick let Josh McDaniels take his entire offensive staff with him. Like that was,
which is unique because he was even asked and he's like, no, that was okay. Because in that Saban documentary, that was the one thing Bill said. Like, obviously the cameras were around. It wasn't a real conversation, but he said it for a reason. Like, I don't like when coaches leave my staff and take people with them. It's like, you're supposed to build your own thing. And then literally I saw that like a week before Josh took 3 assistants with him. And Bill was kind of like, oh, that's fine. No, we got Joe. But
I was in Los Angeles for the Super Bowl when a lot of that was happening. It was just like, God damn, you're taking another one? Like, I forgot. I think it was like Carmen Brasillo came.
Who they could probably use, I think. Like,
well,
Bo Hardigree.
You're left on his contract, too.
Yeah, like, is Bo Hardigree better than Joe Judge? Like, probably.
He's done it more. He has more experience doing it, at least.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, they're probably in pretty good hands with Troy Brown as wide receivers coach, but, like, Mick Lombardi immediately went from wide receivers to offensive coordinator. Like, he probably knows more about being a quarterback's coach, or at least he probably did know more about being a quarterback's coach than Joe Judge heading into this year, right?
Yeah. No, it's not even just like, we're not going to sit around. Like, I remember when Flores left and everyone was like, oh, Jerry Shaplinski left. And I'm like, Jerry Shaplinski coached Tom Brady. Like, we can relax. I talked earlier about players that need coaches. Like, I don't think Tom Brady was one of those. So it's not like, oh my God, they lost Carmen Brasillo and Bo Hardigree, but it's like, they didn't replace them. So to your point about animosity, I don't think they have an issue with it because I think Bill Belichick has the staff that he wanted, which is odd. But yeah, I think after whatever kept McDaniels in New England for an extra 3 years after 2017 or 4 years, shows that 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, 4 years, nailed it. It shows that whatever could have been bubbling or might not have been bubbling definitely wasn't there because, I mean, Belichick shared his DVD moment with him. Remember after 2016, like it wasn't Belichick. It was Belichick and McDaniels doing it. So
true.
Good relationship there. I think it was just, there was a roadblock here. He had to go.
One update, Jakobi Meyers actually did not participate in practice today. The Patriots issued a correction to their practice report, making us look real stupid. You guys probably listen to the first 30 minutes of this podcast being like, these guys are a couple of dopes. They don't even know that there's a correction to the injury report.
But you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You know what time we were
that.
recording. We recorded this at 6:00 on Thursday. We were absolutely correct. But now it turns out Jakobi Meyers did not practice today, which you mentioned earlier about not knowing how concussion protocol works anymore. I'm right there with you. Like
either so the Patriots.
The most confusing thing about concussion protocol, and I don't want to make fun of it because I think that they're handling it correctly, but I think it was when Teddy Bridgewater was removed from a game because spotters saw him wobbling or whatever it was. So he couldn't play the rest of the game.
Even though he had no symptoms and passed his test.
He didn't have a concussion, but they removed him from the game because he was walking incorrectly, whatever it was. But then even though he didn't have a concussion, he still had to go through concussion protocol, which it like, honestly, it makes sense because there's no like x-ray that says you have a concussion or you don't have a concussion. So it's entirely possible that he did have a concussion. He just wasn't showing symptoms and then he passed through the protocol. But that's the most confusing part to me right now is that like, okay, Devin McCourty was removed from the game by the spotter, but apparently they didn't see him wobble enough for him to actually then have to go through concussion protocol at this point. Like, I don't know. It's pretty confusing. I'm not going to lie.
It's all because Tua got thrown to the ground, got up, grabbed his head immediately, stood up and fell over into a lineman who held him up and propped him up and said it was a back injury. And the NFL was like, yeah, that definitely seems like it was a back injury. And so it's like, it's an overcorrection to the millionth degree, which you want to say, you know, well, they're being safe at least. But in Bridgewater's case, it went too far. And then here we are, 10 weeks later, and DeVante Parker is stumbling around in the middle of the field, and the people whose jobs it is to notice that don't do anything. So I don't know what they're accomplishing, but I mean, on the point of Myers, at least, you know, I know that the safety on the Bills thinks it was shoulder to shoulder. It wasn't. It was predatory. It was unnecessary. It was the type of hit that ruins people's lives. So at least it was penalized and punished. I don't know if it was fined though. Was it?
I don't think it was. It might have been. Those fines, they like Tom Pelissero always tweets them on like Saturday at 3 p.m. I'm just like, God, it's so far away from the game at this point. I can't like act like I care about the fines at that point. But with Josh McDaniels, I did want to talk about a comment that Mac Jones made. I think it was this week when he was talking about Josh McDaniels, and that he said that Josh McDaniels coached him hard.
I have to interrupt you. He was fined $4,800. We'll think twice next time. All right, carry on.
Will. So Mac Jones said that he liked that Josh McDaniels coached him hard. And this came 2 weeks after Mac Jones said that he would like the Patriots coaches to coach him harder.
And he called Patricia stoic.
Called Patricia stoic too. I mean, I think that we all kind of know what Mac Jones is doing here. And we talked about this on Monday's show as well. That like, I mean, he's yelling at the coaches from the field. Like the one clip that obviously like really got played up a lot this week on Twitter was the one where he's like waving off saying like, shut up or whatever it was. Like, I have no idea who he was waving to. I don't think anyone necessarily knows who he's waving to. I think you could probably guess who he was probably waving to at that point. I wonder how far the Patriots allow this to go, though. I don't think you can bench Mac Jones, obviously, for saying that Josh McDaniels coached him hard or for swearing on the field or for waving people off or whatever it happens here. But like, I do feel like at some point you either have to like just bite the bullet and make the switch at play caller, like start doing what Mac Jones wants to do, or like punish him in some way, because like this isn't, I don't necessarily care what Mac Jones does. I think it's fine if this is what he's doing, but this isn't really the Patriots way of like 20 plus years. Like you didn't see Tom Brady throwing fits like this or being this outward about his displeasure this often, I would say, or this many weeks in a row.
Or this early in his career, I think is
well, yeah, that certainly too. Yeah.
Like the first noticeable one was Bill O'Brien in 2011. 11.
Yeah.
I remember. Oh, you want to tap into the old memory? It was Tyquan Underwood in the back of the end zone, didn't do something right, and Brady threw a pick in the end zone. against a bad team, maybe Cincinnati or something. And Brady, that's what led to the spat between Belichick and O'Brien, which I think we later learned from Seth Wickersham's story. O'Brien's mom was in the stands, so made it even worse, if you ask me. But no, I think people think, oh, well, Brady complains and like, Peyton, but like that was when they reached a certain level of excellence and they were demanding of everything. Like Mac Jones obviously isn't there. I will say the topic, and it's like, I listen to the radio. I don't know if you do, but it's like the like dissection and breakdown of like Mac Jones, like yelling and outburst. It doesn't do anything for me. Like I'm just not into the like debates of whether it's good or bad or whether he's wrong or right. Like it just sort of is like they're playing sports and the player is in a bad situation. And so I'm not like overreacting to his overreactions one way or the other.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it, but it feels weird that they're not doing anything about it. Unless unless Bill is just like, yeah, he is a bad coach. But if that's the case, then like it would make sense to just make a switch. Like I feel like something has to happen here. You can't just let Mac Jones keep like rolling his eyes at Matt Patricia or like waving him off or swearing or like making these kind of backhanded comments while carrying on status quo like nothing's happening. I don't know.
It's not good. It's toxic, I would say. It doesn't seem like it's gonna blossom much into anything positive. And it's interestingly, Troy Brown talked Tuesday morning and was asked about Mac's outbursts and whether you like it as a coach and what you see. And Troy Brown just, I mean, you know how Troy Brown's demeanor is and his press conferences are. He just said, "That's a very good question. I have no comment on that. Next question." And it was like, so clearly there's like awareness and knowledge and discussions about it, but I don't know that it's going to change. Like, I don't know that anything's going to change because they're in this position. I don't know that they're going to be like, you know what, Mac makes a good point. This could be better. Let's fix it. Because why are they like, it wasn't like this is some unknown bad thing where they hired, I don't know, Steve Sarkisian to come in, like an experienced offensive play caller, and it just didn't work out. And they can be like, oh, well, we didn't see this coming. Like, I feel like this was seen coming by everyone.
Yeah, it definitely was. And yeah, I also think that obviously you have to ask Matt Patricia or Joe Judge, like, hey, what do you think about all these outbursts from Mac Jones? And I think that I would probably handle this the same way if I was a beat writer and like tweeting out these quotes. But like when there's no I can't say that word, editorializing.
Yes, nailed it.
For Matt Patricia's response to that being like, oh, actually, I love the fact that he's doing that. Like he's a competitor, blah, blah, blah. Like if there's no like editorializing about that, then it makes it seem like all what you're reporting is that it's not an issue. And that's how I feel when those quotes come to my phone or on Twitter or whatever it is. It's like, oh, it's actually not a problem that Mac Jones is doing all of this because Matt Patricia said that it's fine and that Joe Judge said that it's fine. When like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer here is. I don't even really know what I'm trying to say here, but it doesn't seem sustainable. And obviously the Patriots are hoping to make the playoffs. Obviously Patriots fans hope that they make the playoffs, but it does feel like something's going to break here soon. But that leads me to my next point is that Mac Jones over the last 3 weeks, it's actually been pretty good. Like, and I feel like people aren't maybe giving him enough credit for being good against the Vikings, being fine against the Bills. Like, I don't think that Mac Jones was the problem against the Bills. And I think that he was good again this week against the who they just played. They just played the I'm
gonna let you work through this one. They play in the desert.
Yes, they played the Cardinals.
Yes.
And he was pretty good in that game as well. So but I feel like people are still just like acting like Mac Jones is playing the way he did either early in the season when he was throwing a bunch of interceptions or midway through the season when he was like just pretty terrible in general. Over the last 3 weeks, he's thrown one interception, and that was the play this week against the Cardinals where he got hit while he was throwing the ball. It was basically of no fault of his own. He's not turning the ball over. He's managing the offense well. And I feel like after these 3 weeks, maybe it doesn't happen against the Raiders for the reasons that you mentioned, but I feel like he's proven enough that he can play pretty well in this offense that they might be able to open things up for him a little bit. But at the same time, if they do that, then like is Bill Belichick going to look at this as like, all right, well, if players like yell and scream on the field enough and make these comments to the media enough that they're just going to get their way. I don't know.
Yeah. He has been good. And when I went to that story that I referenced that nobody read except for you, thank you, is I went in with no like bias or plan. I just wanted to watch the plays and see what I could find. And I was surprised there was the deep shot to Aguilar, the jump ball. That was a great ball up the left sideline where Aguilar went up, 50-50 ball, couldn't come down with it, but it was a great ball with a clean pocket. That was an example. Another was there was the 16-yard completion of Bourne up when Bourne came back down the right sideline. The protection broke down. Cole Strange got, bulldozed right into the pocket, and McDermott got speed rushed around the end. So Mac Jones had to escape, go on the run, look upfield, deliver to strike. So there were plays that he made that I would put at a very high level. Granted, you don't talk about that when you have like 225 yards and really no touchdowns or anything like that. Right. But I think overall, like just looking at last week, he was under heavy pressure 5 times. One was the pick when he was throwing to, I think he had Tyquan Thornton on a deep crosser open. So like it was, he when you watch it on TV, you're like, he should have gotten rid of it faster. No, he had to wait for the deep crosser to clear, and it was there. Like it was, a split second. I think that was just an unfortunate case where they had a tight end blocking a pass rusher. So that was one of them. One was the sack where he ran play fake and there was 2 people in his face. He was lucky to survive that one. It was the same thing. He takes the snap. There's 3 people in his face and he just throws it away. Credit to him for getting outside the tackle box. Like that's how under duress he was. And then was the jump ball. And then there was the completion. So do you want him to be 3 for 5 when facing like a jailbreak pressure situation?
Right.
I don't know that how many quarterbacks are. So like in the instances where he has a pocket and where they look like a functional offense, he does pretty well. It's just, it doesn't really matter when you end up doing it for 4 to 5 plays a game because, okay, you can beat the Cardinals who have Colt McCoy and are no threat to come back. One thing on that though is, last week we talked about, well, the red zone issues will be cleared up because they're going against the worst red zone defense, which came to fruition. The Raiders have the 4th worst red zone defense and the 6th worst third down defense. So if ever there was a sign that the Patriots could have long possessions with some of those short passes and maybe punch a few in with their rookie running backs, they might be able to put it together for a second straight week, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing actually. I guess in some ways how bad Patrick Graham's defense has been this year, because Patrick Graham was a head coaching candidate. I think he interviewed with the Vikings. There was like a possibility that he could have got the Giants job this offseason. But at the same time, the Raiders are in that awkward period that the Chargers were in last year, where Patrick Graham inherited a bunch of Gus Bradley defenders, which don't fit his system. He doesn't have any big linebackers. They tried to bring in Blake Martinez. He retired like 2 weeks later. And the only useful players that they have are guys who like previously played on the Patriots, like Chandler Jones, Duron Harmon got the mention in.
Yes.
What
about
Max Crosby?
Zuber? What about Zuber, who had the pick in the preseason? Is he out there on defense?
I don't think he's been playing much defense this year.
It's too bad. I feel like he was a Patriots beat writer favorite back in 2019, maybe. He got a little play.
I think he had a couple practices where he was a favorite, but I think that there was other guys that year who were getting a little bit more pub than Isaiah Zuber. I forgot who the other training camp wide receivers were that year. But one final point on Mac Jones is that the reason he's probably not getting maybe the credit that he deserves is that he hasn't had that, like, and you mentioned this a little bit, like he hasn't had that like 300, 400 yard game with 3 touchdowns in a win. I think that if they had won that game against the Vikings, then I think everyone would have been like, oh, Mac Jones is back. Mac Jones is the Mac Jones that we saw last year. And I actually do think that over the last 3 weeks, he has been the Mac Jones that we saw last year. It just hasn't all come together for him in a win, with the production, with everything that you'd want to see out of him. So, but it's certainly possible that that could be this week. The issue here, though, is that without DeVante Parker, which Jakobi Meyers now apparently not practicing, even though the Patriots originally said that he did, like he's going to be throwing, and without Ramondre Stevenson, likely he's maybe going to be throwing to Damien Harris, who's not as good of a receiving back as Ramondre Stevenson. He'll have Kendrick Bourne out there, who hasn't played as well this season. He'll have Nelson Aguilar out there, who hasn't done a whole lot this year and is very hot and cold. Tyquan Thornton, who's mostly just, a deception out there running deep routes when no one's going to throw to him. And then the aforementioned Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Like, I feel like this is going to just have to be a massive game from like Hunter Henry and maybe Kendrick Bourne for Mac Jones to have a game like he was able to have at times last year.
It does still feel, and I might have mentioned this Monday night, that the Patriots are dependent on that defensive score or special teams flipping play, whether it's a punt return, whether it's a defensive score, whether it's a pick, or I didn't mention the other night, the 2 muffed punts that Brendan Schooler recovered, one in Pittsburgh, one in Cleveland, I want to say.
Right.
It feels like if you look at their wins, there's the commonality seems to be that extra possession deep in opponent's territory.
Yes.
So I think they'll probably need that. And I think the positive end of, if any team is going to give you that, it's going to be this team. Like, it's going to be this Raiders team, probably up by double digits, just pooping the game away in ways you didn't know were possible to poop. That's my expectation.
We usually get to this earlier in the show, but let's do the funniest thing that happened this week. And I fully intended on having a clip for this because you took the time to send me a clip for this. But apparently the podcasting service that we use does not accept .mov files. They only accept .mp4 files. But
what if I do this? This is Tua Tagovailoa speaking Wednesday to the Miami media, because as I mentioned on this podcast, they had heaters on the Miami sidelines in Los Angeles last weekend, 55-degree weather, partially indoor stadium heaters. And now they're heading to Buffalo. And I don't know if you've seen the forecast. It only gets more snow. There was a meteorologist who did a map. He said it looks like the lake effect snow is going to split the uprights right through Highmark Stadium or whatever it's called. I forget. And it's going to be 25 degrees. So Tua was obviously asked about this. And let's see if this comes through.
I've done the Go Tub many times. I did the Go Tub out there in LA. It was outdoors. I mean, it was already cold. Just to kind of get my body used to it in that sense. Yeah, I went to Maryland to go visit after the season. And it was pretty cold up there. It was probably like in the 20s. And there was snow on the ground too. So got to test that out. Got to throw up there with a couple of his guys. So yeah, that was good.
Have you seen snow before?
Yeah, it snowed in Alabama my first year. Yeah. So it snows in Alabama, guys. I know. I mean, people don't know that, There's some people that just think, it just gets cold in Alabama. It does snow.
Yeah. Listen, this is not a gambling podcast, just like it's not a Matt Patricia podcast, but Bills by 1,000. Like the Bills have been doing this thing where they just do enough to win. I think this is going to be the most fun night of their season. Saturday night, snowstorm, 25 degrees, and a Miami team that had heaters on the sideline in Los Angeles coming in. This is like caveman football analysis, but I fully believe in it.
I don't know if you've seen this, but the Dolphins have been practicing inside their practice bubble with the air conditioning cranked up.
You know what that's like when the Colts used to come here to New England. One time they were prepping for the 04, and it was, I remember seeing it like ESPN, it was like the Colts opened the doors to their stadium where they let 45-degree winds blast through the stadium. I'm like, that'll do it. Like, that will prepare you for a Northeast winter. Like,
well, the Dolphins reporters were saying that it was like in the 50s to 60s degrees inside the practice bubble because it's like 80 degrees outside. I legitimately expected them to say like, and like the fake snow that they pump in at Disney World that's made out of soap. I was expecting them to be like, and they also had some fake snow pumped into the practice bubble as well. But like Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins, it seems like are like kind of trolling about this
with the shirt.
I'm a big fan of Mike McDaniel. I like the fact that he is different. He's like, everyone talked about Mike Leach this week and how like he did not seem to be impacted by like what you're supposed to be as a football coach. And I feel the same way about Mike McDaniel, that like he's just like himself. He like seemingly cannot help but just be his own weird self, which is really cool. But like, I don't know if this is going to pan out well. Like you said, like if they needed heaters on the sideline at SoFi Stadium, which like only has like, it's basically like a gigantic stadium with like some open windows. Like the sides are open, but it's not an outdoor stadium. Yeah, if they needed heaters on the sideline there, and if they need to kind of troll opponents even in their home stadium by having the opponent's sideline in the sun when it's like 110 degrees, this does seem like some like comeuppance that they might get blown out in the snow in Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's going to have a big impact on the playoff race, because not only is there that game, but they also have to come up to Foxborough on New Year's Day, which who knows what the weather is going to be like there. So if Miami loses and drops to 8-6 and the Patriots win and go to 8-6, then that game in week 17 in the cold is going to be awfully interesting. So I that was the funniest thing. The second thing, maybe not as funny, but maybe the honorable mention, is that Roger Goodell in the NFL is obsessed with collecting Matthew Judon's pee. Like they cannot get enough of Matthew Judon's pee. He's been tested now 3 weeks in a row, randomly, which coincides with him climbing back into the NFL lead in sacks. And he tweeted about it, and he's not overly pleased with it, which I don't blame him. I mean, no one's ever watched me pee in a cup. And I feel like at a certain point, you feel dehumanized as a man to have Gary from the NFL watch you pee at 6:30 in the morning when you're in Tucson, Arizona, just trying to get through the week. So that's maybe not as funny. So that's the runner up.
Do you think that they're not testing Josh Uche because he weighs like 185 pounds?
Yeah.
And they're like, there's no way this guy's on steroids.
They're like, this guy's on like NutriFast. Like we know, we test them for Weight Watchers shakes, whatever they may be. That was a weird segment we did the other night. That was it got a little weird. Just the skinniness of Josh Uche, because like he had his best game ever, and we're like, he should be stronger. We weren't even saying that. I don't know what we were saying. Chandler Jones is very skinny.
True, but yeah. Well, one thing about Josh Uche is that when he first was drafted by the Patriots, I think they originally had him listed at like 6'3", 226 pounds, and everyone was like, is this true? And he was like, no, I weigh 250 pounds. But like, maybe they were just predicting the future. Maybe Josh Uche now does weigh 226 pounds. My funniest thing of the week was something that you pointed out. I think it was on Twitter, of JJ Watt was mic'd up before the Cardinals game, or after the Cardinals game, during the Cardinals game against the Patriots. And he was like, I'm going to tell Matt Judon that he played his balls off. And like, seemingly like 2 minutes later, he was like, Matt Judon, you played your balls off. I just thought like that, even just that like turn of phrase of like, he played it, like telling someone that you're going to tell someone that he played his balls off, and then like using that exact verbiage. I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me.
That was, so that was, we talked about Hard Knocks the other night, or I guess going into the game, I forget.
Right.
Again, short-term memory. But I did watch the episode that premiered Wednesday night, because obviously it was the Patriots pre and prep. And I was kind of, I wouldn't say shocked or stunned, but I found it interesting in the meeting rooms how seriously the Cardinals treated the Patriots. They talked about them like this was 2004, like Willie McGinnis and Ty Law and Rodney Harrison were back there, and Tom Brady was thrown to Deion Branch and Troy Brown. And it showed that maybe around here we're like dismissive of a lot of things the Patriots do, and we have our doubts and questions about maybe Bill Belichick that we didn't have 2-3 years ago in terms of getting through a season and all that. But it showed that Cliff Kingsbury still has it. The special teams coordinator still has it. And you want to talk about somewhere the Patriots have dropped off, it's in special teams. Yeah. Sean Jefferson, who played in New England and had 1 year under Parcells and Belichick, was like just demonstrably saying how seriously these great coaches take their jobs, and how you can't game. Colt McCoy in the quarterback's room was like, you never know whether they're going to go man or zone. You can't know that you can't game plan for him, which he kind of played like, I guess. But I found that noteworthy from that, aside from JJ Watt being like very likable, unlike when he was on Hard Knocks 10 years ago and was like doing Fort Minor music video.
Well, a segue to that, Vegas is also still taking the Patriots very seriously. Last week, they ranked 11th in Predictable's betting market rankings for the NFL. Patriots are now 10th in those betting market rankings, which is pretty amazing. They would be, what do you expect the team to be favored by against a league average opponent on a neutral field? 0.8. So they would be basically favored by 1 point. But the unfortunate thing for the Patriots is that they still only have a 33.7% chance of making the playoffs, according to Unpredictable. And probably the biggest reason for that is that they have the most difficult future strength of schedule in the NFL, against the Raiders, who rank 18th, the Bengals, who rank 4th, the Dolphins, who rank 7th, and the Buffalo Bills, who rank 1st. So I don't know. I don't know if the Patriots actually are the 10th best team in the NFL. I would actually wager to say they're probably not. But
I would as well. I would say that.
The Cardinals clearly think that they're still very good.
I want to say something.
Still thinks they're very good.
Aside from, you've mentioned this stat like in all of our podcasts, and it's not getting through this skull. Like, it's just not. So you can do it every podcast. It's just not. I will not have a digestion of it. But I actually, my friend texted me today, and I hadn't thought about this. Do you realize that as of right now, the Patriots have 7 wins, and that 6 of them came against quarterbacks that are now backups?
Yeah.
Like, we knew that with Colt McCoy, and it was more obvious, but Mitch Trubisky, they beat, is now a backup. Jacoby Brissett is now a backup. Zach Wilson twice is a backup. Sam Ellinger, and then Colt McCoy. The only current starter who they beat is Jared Goff, who's turned into an MVP since then, but that's another story. They lost to Justin Fields. They lost to Kirk Cousins. They lost to Josh Allen, as well as Tua, Lamar, and Aaron Rodgers. So that's something to consider for this week, where you have Derek Carr, who's so-so this year in a so-so system and a so-so team, but he is the number 1 starter. He will have that job until the end of the year. So it's, I don't know, whatever metric you just made up and spewed out, you can use that. But I think that's something I hadn't really considered it. And you look at certain games, like Cleveland had a chance. Jacoby has experience, but he threw a pick. The fourth quarter, Jacoby, not very good.
Right.
Zach Wilson, an absolute disaster. Sam Ellinger, I don't know why he was even starting or playing. And then last week, once you score that defensive touchdown, you won the game because Colt McCoy wasn't leading a passing offense to come back. Like, it just wasn't going to happen with the pass rush, with a decent secondary. One thing we didn't get to on the pick, it looked like an easy one. It pops up in the air. Marcus Jones played that really well. I was watching it. I was breaking down the film today to watch it again because it was a big part of Hard Knocks. And Hopkins ran a double move, and Jones didn't bite at all. He was ready for the go. He had his eyes on the quarterback. That's why he was able to be there for it. And I think that's a heck of a play. Like, that's a big spot. Monday Night Football rookie against DeAndre Hopkins, who in Hard Knocks was confident. He was like, give me those. Give me every go against 2-5. I don't care. Give it to me. And they tried it, and he got hit by Uche, who's too skinny, and they got a pick.
I think it's also a testament to Marcus Jones of, like, who was he covering in Buffalo? Oh, it's Gabe Davis, who's like 6'3", 230 pounds. But Marcus Jones is so good at covering wide receivers that I think that, like, quarterbacks can't get past that. It's like, no, that guy is glued to that wide receiver. Like, even though he is 6 inches taller than him, I still don't want to throw that pass because the coverage is just too good. I'm curious to see if any quarterbacks do exploit that matchup, if this is the week that happens with Matt Collins and Devontae Adams and all these guys. But no, Marcus Jones has been a great draft pick. And the stat of Patriots wins have come against backup quarterbacks is it's certainly it should be looked at. It is real. And I guess that their only hope this weekend then is for Derek Carr to get injured and for Jared.
Come on, Doug. Come on. I was just gonna give you a message at the end of this podcast. And this is our high-tech production. This is what I want to say to you. I want to go up to you right now after this podcast.
Play your balls out. So much respect, man.
That's how I feel about the way that you handled this through the cough. It is a shame, though. You just started a podcast, and you're going to die on the podcast. Like, we just are getting to know you podcast-wise, Pat's chat-wise, and the next episode might be like an in memoriam, like Doug. In the movies, if you cough that many times on screen, you're dead. I'm sorry.
It's true. Well, you only really know how many times I've coughed if you watch this on YouTube, because I've been really utilizing that mute button. Hopefully, that's been getting through. But I think this will do it for today's edition of Pat's Chat. Hopefully, by Monday morning's episode, my voice will sound a little bit better than this, because if you've only heard me talk on this podcast, then you're like, oh, that guy's got a weird voice.
This guy's not
He's-
healthy.
He's not healthy. He's constantly coughing.
He doesn't go to
Blame
the
my
gym.
daughter Olivia. She got sick and it's torn through our house. But yeah, I think that will do it for today's episode.
Wait,
Subscribe.
what's your not a prediction, but what you got on Sunday?
Oh, brother.
Caught you off guard there.
I kind of think the Raiders win
Yeah.
just because of all the injuries. And because like there's part of me that's like, this is going to be like this like crazy magical end to the Patriots season where like somehow everything goes right for them. But I don't know. All the injuries this is tough. Like it's going to be tough to win without Stevenson, without Parker, maybe without Jakobi Meyers. It just seems like at a certain point, like their offense is no longer even going to be able to function as well as it has in recent weeks.
Yeah, I
What do you
think there's a million logical reasons you could make for the Patriots losing, but I just think in the end, the Raiders will the punter will fumble his snap and get tackled, and they'll score on defense, and then they'll recover an onside kick,
Right.
and there'll be a defensive pass interference, and then they'll punch it in. Like I think the Patriots will be down and they'll come back. I don't know, like 30-27 type game where the Raiders just spectacularly fail, because I've seen too much of them, with the worst one being last week. I got to imagine the Patriots, who tend to be lucky, they tend to catch breaks.
Right.
I feel like this is a great week for them to catch a few breaks.
Well, I guess we'll see on Monday's show who was right. But yeah, subscribe to the Pat's Chat podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, and we will be back with you guys. I'd say that the schedule gets kind of weird after this point, where like their next game is on Christmas Eve. I don't know when that episode will drop, but I'm assuming that we'll record our next episode on Sunday after this game, and you'll be able to listen to it on Monday morning during your commute or whatever it is.
During your hellish work commute that takes 2 hours to go 15 miles. We will occupy you for one of those.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.